deal that President Trump negotiated with the Taliban. The choice I had to make as your president was either to follow through on that agreement or be prepared to go back to fighting the Taliban. I stand squarely behind my decision.
President Biden defending his administration's handling of the chaos unfolding in Afghanistan, while still passing blame on many others, including former President Trump. Florida Congresswoman Cammack joins me now to discuss. Congresswoman, good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Good morning, Jillian.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Okay, so you're a graduate from the Naval War College, and I know that you say war termination is one of the most important aspects of military planning and strategy, and that it's one of the first things that you're taught when you attend. Can you tell me then, from your experience, what happened here? What went so wrong?
You know, just a few hours ago, I was on the phone with C-17 pilots, both active duty and some that have recently separated from the military. And we all agree Americans should reject this analysis from the pundits and from the White House that this was a no-win situation, that it was going to be a messy withdrawal come hell or high water. You know, I have heard repeatedly from this administration that they had planned for every single contingency. I think every American should recognize that that is BS. You don't close Bagram, the primary logistical hub for our military, and then funnel all of the activity into the nation's capital of Kabul and expect a clean withdrawal. There were no plans. There were no contingencies. And it truly is a slap in the face to every man and woman who has donned the uniform of our nation, because they have worked tirelessly, given their all for the last 20 years to make sure that they did their job. But the suits in Washington, they failed. And when you're talking about war termination, you have to have an exit strategy from the word go. And there hasn't been one. We have had years and years to plan. So this narrative that the president is pushing, blaming everyone, pointing fingers, and throwing agencies, particularly the intelligence community, under the bus, people need to reject this and understand that this was a failure of leadership. There was no contingency plans. No matter how many times they try to point fingers and throw blame on President Trump and others, they need to own this debacle, this total and utter failure 100%, because it's not what they did, it's how they did it. Collectively, I think people were ready. Americans, we were ready to come home. We've been ready to come home, and I've supported a withdrawal for a long time. But this has been handled so poorly, and heads need to roll for this.
Yeah, it's like Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North said last night on Hannity. He said, doing the right thing the wrong way. There's so many disturbing images coming out of Afghanistan, particularly in Kabul at the airport there. And if you take a look at a picture here, I don't know if you've seen this yet, but it's 640 roughly Afghans packed into this U.S. C-17 cargo jet. And, you know, the pilot made the decision to get them out of there because he thought, you know, we got to keep these people safe. And that's just a small portion of the people who are desperate to get out of Kabul right now and desperate to try and get somewhere where they feel safe. This image, among, you know, others that we've seen, are going to haunt this administration and this president for a long time to come. Do you agree?
Absolutely. You know, when I was talking to these airmen last night, these are the same C-17 pilots that have flown over 200 missions in and out of Afghanistan. One of them said, and I quote, "I don't know if I would have been able to taxi my aircraft down that runway." Keep in mind, in Kabul, there's only one runway. Again, a total failure of leadership and planning. Why we were not using Bagram, which had 2 runways and ramps that were able to accommodate up to 20 C-17s. They are putting our airmen, the men and women who are flying these aircraft in and out, in some of the most treacherous mountain terrain, in limited capacity with zero fuel capabilities. They're now having to air fuel. You look at the heart-wrenching decisions that these crews are making, split-second decisions. That is a failure of leadership from the very top. And again, there needs to be absolute accountability for this. They can't say, listen, we did the best we could and walk away. There have been lives and blood lost. This is something that the American people need to turn around, support our troops 100%, and then demand accountability from the White House. Absolutely, resignations need to take place, and there needs to be a full accounting from the highest levels of our military leadership all the way up into the commander-in-chief.
Gives me chills to hear you talk about the capabilities or lack thereof on the ground. It's truly unbelievable to watch it unfold. Before we let go, we want to get your opinion on this situation because you are one of the co-sponsors of a bill that Representative John Katko has introduced, and this is the Border Security for America Act. We'll pull this up on the screen right now. This builds the border wall, modernizes border technology, and bolsters border staffing. A lot of Republicans obviously in favor of the border wall and trying to get a handle, if we even can at this point, on the situation at the southern border. So where do you expect this to go?
Repeatedly, I've talked to so many, hundreds of Border Patrol agents. In fact, just yesterday, I received a text message from one of their deputy sector chiefs. That is a force multiplier. They need technology because the manpower is dwindling for our Border Patrol agents. Just yesterday, DHS put out an all hands on deck, a volunteer call, if you will, for Border Patrol agents to volunteer to assist in Afghan resettlement. That is exactly what people don't need to happen. When we have an open porous border and we have thousands and thousands coming across every single day, we need every capability possible, including every man and woman from the Border Patrol, boots on the ground, not babysitting and processing as 60% of them are doing, but they need to be on the line, helping stop the flow. And when we have taken away, and by we, I really mean President Biden through executive order, we have taken their force multiplier away through the wall. We have taken away their ability to turn people around. They are fighting tooth and nail to keep Title 42 and reinstate MPP, the Migrant Protection Protocol. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. We have got to get serious about recognizing the danger that an open porous border presents from both a humanitarian, a public health, and a national security standpoint, and really looking at what Afghanistan and the southwest border mean when the two collide.
Yeah, you have such an important insight into all of this, considering you're a graduate from the Naval War College, considering you've been to the southern border, you've seen it firsthand. It was really important to have you on today to